chiropractic adjustment have a direct effect on the prefrontal cortex. Think about that, right? So we help with the adjustment, not just mechanically and all that. Yes, it is the neuromusculoskeletal system, but we're helping the message from the body being sent to the brain properly. I was just in Toronto at a chiropractic conference, and Dr. John Minardi was explaining it so beautifully, is that we're making sure that the message from your spine is going to the brain clearly and not scrambled. I always say to patient, if you're listening to radio, again, aging myself, 89.9, you're on 89.7. Are you going to hear the person? No.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, sadly, we're looking at it a lot of time mechanically.
Welcome to my podcast, I Think I Can. My intention for the podcast is for individuals to begin a transformational journey towards self-awareness and self-actualization. And I do this by telling my own story, as well as all the stories from my past clients. And I do this so that you too can feel safe knowing that change is available to you, but also so you can take more responsibility for your life in 3 specific ways: in your health, your self, and your wealth. Now sit back and enjoy the show. So welcome everyone back to I Think I Can podcast. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and she is a chiropractor, functional medicine practitioner, an international speaker, and wellness consultant. Additionally, she is a former professional natural figure, bodybuilder, and author of the Amazon bestseller, Hack Your Health Habits. As a fervent health biohacker, Dr. Nathalie is constantly seeking new and innovative ways to optimize her health. She firmly believes in empowering individuals to take control of their health and become the best versions of themselves. So welcome, Nathalie.
Thank you for having me on the show, Rilla. I'm super excited for, I think, what will be a good and interesting discussion for your listeners.
Yes. And I want my listeners to know that I found you by listening to a webinar that you were doing for Designs for Health, which is a supplement company that, well, it's my main supplement company. I really believe in their products. They're excellent. And she was talking about a subject that I feel needs more attention and because of its importance. And that is, everything to do with the vagus nerve and calming the central nervous system and getting us all to be much more aware, whether or not we're in that parasympathetic or sympathetic state, and that, for layman's terms, that's whether we're in the fight or flight part of our nervous system or whether we're in the more relaxed rest and digest. So, Nathalie, tell me, how did you become so fervent about this topic?
Well, as a chiropractor, I work with the nervous system and, 27 years in practice, and so fortunate because I touch people. So talk about next level of connecting with people. It's not just with, facial expression or connecting just body language. So I'm so fortunate that I have that aspect. And I'll backtrack a little bit. Why I'm even a chiropractor is that I was always passionate about health and wellness. And at the age of 14, I was anorexic and I needed to find a way to heal myself. And this is way before Google and, all of the information we have. And I grew up in a small town in Quebec, and there was not a lot of resources. So I needed to find a way to heal myself. And then my parents were seeing a chiropractor. He was about, I don't know, 45 minutes from our hometown. And it was really fascinating for me because I only spoke French. He only spoke English. We somehow went there. We lay down on his table. We got adjusted and he fixed everyone. Like, no joke, my uncle's hemorrhoids, frozen shoulder. Like, it was just so cool to me. And then I looked at his diplomas and saw it was from the States. I'm like, I've never been to the States in my life. I do not speak English. So, it sounds like a cool profession, but, not accessible. And then when I was in my last year at Ottawa U in health sciences, a girl in my class was applying to chiropractic school. And I'm like, oh, there's a chiropractic school in Toronto. I kind of, didn't think about it after, I moved away from home when I was 17. And I'm like, wow, okay, well, you know what? My English is still not great, but heck, let's give it a try. So got accepted and then went on to being a chiropractor. So we have kind of a saying within our profession, and maybe it's the same with yours, but chiropractic chooses us. It's often not the other way around. So I was excited that I had such a wonderful profession to express my healing and help people. And what's really cool about chiropractic is that, and I say that to patients all the time, how cool is that? It's your body and my hands, and the healing happens just between those two, right? So it's such a powerful thing. And even after 27 years, and I don't want this to sound like a commercial for chiropractic, but I am still excited to hear the changes in people's health. I'm still giddy when I adjust someone for the first time because I know what it's going to do for them. So, and as a practitioner, you and I were talking just before the podcast, we are busy. I've told you I'm recording from my practice because I have construction worker at home and dang, just go. And, and then I'm like, okay, Nathalie, you're doing a podcast on the nervous system and the vagus nerve and, how to stay, balanced in your nervous system. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm a work in progress as well with that. But all that to say that I have that conversation daily with patients and, even me as a practitioner, my approach has changed throughout the years. I'm still adjusting patient, but it's also the communication that has changed with patient. Like in my practice, the only thing you'll see poster-wise is a huge chart of the nervous system, but maybe not the one that you'll find on Google. It's one that does talk about the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, but it talks about the gas pedal and the brake pedal. And I have that conversation. I've been using heart rate variability in my practice for 13 years. So I've had that language. Sure, I help people with their pain because I've come to the realization that for people to act, it's pain or vain. Sadly. So pain, physical pain, psychological pain, or for beauty. A lot of time people will invest more in their, beauty than is something is not paining them. So I've had that nervous system conversation with my patient for 13 years. And yes, I want them to be pain-free, but I have the discussion because I use a technology that measures heart rate variability, surface EMG, and thermal. Thermal talks about the communication from the brain to the organs. So with all my new patients, I have that conversation. And I always say to them, why are your score like this? I don't know. Is it because of poor brain-body communication? Or it's your lifestyle that is stressful beyond, imagination. Yeah. And I often say to them, well, maybe it's a combination of both, but we will retest you in a certain amount of visit, and then we will see the changes. So constantly have that discussion to bring it back to function and not just to, oh, Nathalie, my back pain is gone or whatever. So it's a full-time job discussing this with patient daily, but I wouldn't change it because it just, when people get it and when people experience it, it's unbelievable.
Well,
I had this discussion with one of my staff because we have pain-based care and we have corrective care, and then we have wellness care. And to me, I get adjusted at least or checked twice a month. It's part of my routine.
Yeah.
And all of our patients that do that, when it's time every year to kind of re-engage, our retention is amazing because they feel the difference. Mm-hmm. They know what it's doing to their body. So my ideal practice would be no one's in pain. Everybody's coming in for wellness checkup and for optimal health. Right. Mm-hmm. I know it's never going to get to that necessarily, but that would be, the ideal scenario for people to really experience it.
Well, you know what, you just like, there's a lot of things I want to speak up. I don't want to just gloss over the anorexia either. I want to come back to that. But the last few sentences that you said just really reminded me a lot of our functional medicine training, right? It's all about functional medicine is preventative measurement medicine. So in terms of the wellness check-ins, that's our ideal client, right? Yeah. That's what we want. We want them to practice, health in a way that, it's just a check-in. It's not. Yeah.
But Luella, thank you for bringing this up. As a chiropractor, this is our entire way of looking at things. So I remember, because we're both certified with the Institute of Functional Medicine, and I don't know when I went for the first time, let's say 8 years ago, and I remember I was running a bit late, 800 doctors in this room, and I go in and it was the hormone one, and they were talking about adrenal and the vagus nerve and breath work, and I'm like, whoa, where am I? Meaning that I'm used to hearing that within my profession, but not there. But you know what really made me sad? Zero about chiropractic on the impact on any of those things. And I remember thinking, I'm going to get certified and I'll be on that stage and I want to explain that to them. Still kind of on my to-do list. I'm not sure that I'm the best qualified people. There's people in my profession that could do an amazing job, but it is so overlooked. It's not even funny. And I think it's a lack of education of the other health practitioners. Yeah.
Well, but it's interesting though. I as a psychotherapist, I felt like a complete fish out of water. What am I doing here with all these MDs, NDs, chiropractors and whatever? But I was amazed at the number of chiropractors, studying to be certified. To me, it really opened my mind in terms of, the number of healers that do really want to come together.
Yeah.
Whether it's healing through the hands, whether it's healing through speech or talk therapy. And now, even in the last year for myself, I'm like, bring it on. Bring it on. Let me go to all these professionals. I want, I want it now. I'm hungry for healing.
Yeah. And you're right. The variety of all I made a good friend with an ophthalmologist on my right and a gynecologist on again, and for her, it's like, wow, ophthalmologist, of course, inflammation, 2D, it makes all sense to work together. And because we're in Canada, unfortunately, the scope of practice for, let's say, a chiropractor in the US, and depending on the state, I have many chiropractors friends, and their scope of practice is more extensive. They can order blood. When you look at speakers like Dr. Datis Karazian, which I've done all his courses. He is a chiropractor. He's got a lot of other letters after his name, but so scopes of practice depending on where people are can be definitely different.
So how did you cure anorexia then? What was the chiropractic part of that?
You never cure.
No.
Right? No. Sorry to correct you on this. And it's funny because I was listening to somebody else's podcast and the person was an alcoholic and he said exactly the same thing. So how did I get my eating disorder in control? funny enough, through exercise, because I was always athletic and my body was failing me big time. Like I'm 5'9". I weigh now 140 pounds. That's my healthy weight. I was 89 pounds. So I was hospitalized in Saint Justine hospital for a month and a half, and loving parents, caring parents, obviously they were part of my healing. And then a lot of people will say, how did you end up in bodybuilding? Someone who was anorexic. And you know what, that's what helped me get out of being obsessed with food, because all of a sudden I had something to follow. I had a goal. And then my relationship with food really changed at that time. So as potentially unhealthy it can be for someone to be in a bikini on stage, which you wouldn't even catch me at the beach, in a bikini. But to me, it was a sport. It was a challenge. And I had a great experience. I did it for 5 years, all natural. And I did it for me, I did it for me. And I can say that I did it from 30 to 35. And, at 35, like I had a much healthier relationship with food. So yeah, it's kind of the journey. But I know that being a chiropractor and always learning, and it's no coincidence that I'm big into biohacking, because I'm constantly trying to do better. Now, I train for health and longevity more so than running a marathon or being on stage. I don't have interest for that anymore. To me, it's just learning. It's fun to me, and I want to share that with my patients. So, for example, after doing the vagus nerve presentation for the FH, I modified it and did it the next week for my patients. And I had 200 or 300 of my patients listening to it. And, because I do webinar regularly, it had been a while, but they're like, whoa, I never, I love sharing information. And here in Ottawa, I organized a health expo for 12 years. And I brought, all kind of different speakers and so forth, because I'm the type of person, if something doesn't exist, well, let's make it happen. So I had a blast. This was all obviously before COVID. So to me, where I get my joy is somebody's light bulb moment that they're gonna go, ha. And my job every time they come in, I call it punching holes in their belief system. And I'm lucky because I see them often, not necessarily for long periods like you when you're in therapy, but I see them often. So I can, have that conversation and ask questions. And it's nice to see the shift. It's nice to see. And again, brain-body communication, just the fact that their nervous system is working more optimally, they can integrate so much more, right? Like when the nervous system is overwhelmed, like it's super hard to have a properly functioning brain and body.
There's so much to talk about here. Like as I'm listening to you and thinking, okay, I'm going to have her back on, because there's absolutely no way that we're going to be able to cover everything here. But just let's say that you had a 14-year-old anorexic. And I'm just bringing this up again because, anorexia has so much to do with the brain-body connection. So how would you guide a young girl right now?
It's such a good question. I get asked that all the time. I locally try to get involved with what, I think it's Hopewell or Hope organization here in Ottawa. And unfortunately, it wasn't very well structured. It is such a complicated thing. It is such a complicated thing. So even to ask myself, like, as you probably know, anorexic usually are overweight, lack confidence and all that. I was nothing of that. I never was overweight. I did good in school, lovely family and so forth. So I don't know. But if I have to assess, looking back, one of my close friends was anorexic, a tad older than me. I remember going to Saint Justine to visit her. And I mean, she went down to 69 pounds. We really thought we were going to lose her. And I remember thinking, why in the world is she doing that? And thinking, I wouldn't want to be there. And lo and behold, a year later, I'm the one there. So
Wow.
I don't know. But what I will say is, God bless my mom. She just passed not too long ago. I think when you're at that age, growing in a small town and so forth, you don't have much control.
Yeah.
So food became something that I could control. And again, my parents did nothing wrong. So
No.
I don't know. But that's
Yeah.
the only little component that I can think, that at that age, you're looking to have control over something. And food was something that I could control. So
Yeah. Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
have to assess back. So I think, to answer your question, it's so multifactorial, right? And then parents sometimes will ask me, do we try to force the food? Do we let go? Do we, have her hospitalized, and then they're feeding her French fry, and she's like, it's just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
complicated. So
Yeah, it really is. And I really appreciate you saying that, because I think sometimes we try to find the simple answer, and there isn't one. And it also reminds me, like, sometimes I do want to say that to clients, like, let's stop trying to figure this out. Like, in terms, like, root cause medicine is important, but what I think is more important is, where do we want to go? Like, what's your truth, and where do you want to go? Like, let's look into the future, and
yeah.
let's
One thing
concentrate.
that I will add, and I think I wrote it in my book, that when I was in Montreal at the hospital, my psychiatrist was a bearded 45-year-old male. And I'm sitting there, I remember thinking, I'm 15 by then or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
what does this man understand of
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
going on? So I'm hoping that there's better resources, and
Yeah.
more women are coming forward and helping each other. Because
Exactly.
I think if I had someone like me who now had a career, is happy and
Right.
healthy and is not overweight and
No.
hasn't gone, because in my head it's like, oh my God, we're gonna weigh 300 pounds somewhere somehow.
Yeah.
It would have been helpful to have
Yeah.
role model or somebody to mentor me, or somebody to look up to. And that's why locally I try to get involved. But unfortunately, there was a lot of red tape, and I can understand, all of those
Exactly.
organizations have a lot of red tape. But I just wanted to go for coffee with one of
Yeah.
them and just, talk to me. I'm here to
Yeah.
listen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, okay, so let's biohacking for our I think most people know what biohacking is, but let's just define that for a second for our listeners.
Well, a hack, because that's the name of my book, is a shortcut to be more efficient. So I'm not thinking of computer, hacking here, but it's a shortcut to do something more efficiently. And I'm all about efficiency. Like, if we don't have to work out, 17 hours a week, unless you enjoy it and you're a runner
Mhm.
or whatever, that's fine. I'm all about being more efficient. And one of the reasons is for me, but also for my patients, because they don't have time, or they think they don't have time. So what can I do for them to have the bigger return on their time investment? So I'm constantly looking at that. And even for my own productivity, just so biohacking to me is, and some is ancestral, like grounding. Like, don't think
Yes.
of
Yes.
biohacking as in, fancy this and that and the other thing. I'm currently, the books is all done, co-authoring a biohacking book called Smart Cuts with a colleague of mine, Dr. Paul Sly. And we have 5 sections, and it's all about protocols that are there to optimize your health. And a lot of the protocols are sleep, are grounding, are
Yes.
breath work. You
Yes.
can't fancy yourself, with a
No.
biocharger of $20,000 if
Right.
you don't have your sleep,
Yes.
covered. So that's what I mean with biohacking. And I love technology used, smartly, obviously EMFs and all consider. But yeah, and then the brain, I just discovered at here in Ottawa, there's a neuro clinic that's using a device that I don't know much about. So I'm going to book myself as a patient. I want to see what's available for me to refer a patient, but also for me. So I'm all about prevention as much as I can for myself, and then share that information with people, because I see people's challenge day in and day out, the kids in sports and this and that. So I'll have the conversation. Okay, Genevieve has 3 practice of soccer. Where's the game? Where are the practice? It's there. What about if you bring your running shoes and I know that area, there's a track. Why don't you, instead of staying there, put some good music that you like, and I want you to, never cross the person's mind to do that. So I coach people a lot on how they can integrate things. Now, people working from home, what can they do and all that. So for me, it's fun to do that. And I get to do that daily.
It's fun. And I think for many of us, it's easy. Like you just reminded me, like when I brought my kids to swimming lessons, I went to the pool, like 500 steps away or whatever, and did laps while they did their lessons. Like, and some people might say, well, no, I like to watch them. Well, I don't know. When I grew up, like my older brothers and sisters took us to swimming lessons because my parents were just too busy. I mean, I think as parents, we get a little bit too, I don't know, focused on,
And that's another thing too, that I bring back to parents. I said, your kids will mimic what you do, right? So what example are you setting to your kids that you're running like a chicken with your head cut off, driving everyone, and you don't exercise, you don't take care of you don't have a good relationship and body image with your own body? What are you teaching your daughter?
Yes, exactly.
I have
going through the drive-through on the way to practice, like no one's eating at home anymore either. It's like,
there's that. Yeah. And again, don't get me wrong, my goodness, life has become complicated, but we do need to slow down. And I think it was in my first book, I talk about the not to-do list, meaning we have a to-do list, but I like to sit down every few months and say, okay, what has been added to my plate or our family's plate that not having fun here, not good.
Exactly.
Who can I, scratch it? Or that sounded like a good idea at the time. Like last year, I wanted to learn Spanish, and we had a lesson on Wednesday. I'm like, no, this is just not gonna work,
Exactly.
So I will do Duolingo 5 minutes every day instead. So I think it's very common for people to just pile on stuff without doing an inventory of what's important, what we like and enjoy, and what we really could do without, right?
It's so important. It's funny you say that, because even in the relationship world, like in the couples that I see, I mean, that's the last few things that I've been talking about, is doing a time audit, because they're complaining of not being able to connect. And I'm just like, well, okay, well, like, have you looked at your schedule? I mean, there's a reason. And then, a couple episodes ago, I had a lady, a financial advisor on, and she was saying you should be spending, about 20 minutes a day looking at your finances. And I'm going, what? Like if I spend 20 minutes a month, that's what I'm doing. So there's a balance as well, right? I mean, maybe 5 minutes a day. It's true. Like how many of us look at
a time during the week to reconnect. And it's funny that you use, I always say, if you want to really look at someone's priority, if they say they have something as a priority, I mean, I'm going to date myself, but look at somebody's checkbook and calendar. So if the workouts, if the, meal prep or whatever is not in the calendar, or no money is spent on it, it's wishful thinking, right?
Exactly.
So those two things are so crucial. And, my husband and I try to do date night as much as we can, but we're not perfect. And we slack off and say, okay, what happened? No date nights,
Yeah, exactly. So what are, like, when heart rate variability, that's super important for I guess assessing your central nervous system. So
it is one of the best instrument. So, and I'll explain, because sometimes I know it can get confusing for people, but heart rate, because when I say heart rate variability to patient, they say, oh, my heart rate is good. I'm like, I'm not saying that. Listen to that third word, right? Variability. So, you know, the PQRS like wave that we see in movies, this is, you know, the heartbeat. Yeah. And what we want is between those heartbeats to have variability. It sounds a bit counterintuitive, but you're right. The more variability you have, the more resilient. Now, talking about resilience 12 years ago, nobody understood what that meant. Now it's more common, right? Like people are hearing it a lot more. So you're not as resilient. So that means your body can't cope with the physical, psychological, and biochemical stressors as efficiently. Yeah. That's kind of the conversation that I have on that. And like I said, the technology I use is nice because we get a nice graph, if you remember from the presentation, and there's like green, they see where they are with the pink, the white dot, and then the 4 quadrants are explained. And usually what happens is that people will shift. So imagine the sympathetic on this side, the parasympathetic on this side. People will go from the bullseye to sympathetic dominant, right? Like, okay, life's gotten busy, the adrenals, the cortisol, and all that, but it's still manageable. But then they push too long, then they drop in the second zone here. And the analogy that she gives is that cell phone. Oftentimes with iPhone, they don't keep their charge on after a while. Well, it's kind of the same thing. You're not recharging, or you're not keeping your charge. And then we go to top right, which is parasympathetic. But if you're stuck in parasympathetic, you know, I don't know how much we're going to get into the polyvagal theory with the dorsal vagal, ventral vagal, and sympathetic, but you don't want to be in parasympathetic too long either. And then the 4th zone is not a zone I see a lot of people in, but I did see one this week, one of my elderly patients, bad rheumatoid arthritis, lost tons of weight and so forth. And she was in that zone, you know, because her body is just tapped. She's lost so much weight, muscle mass, and so forth. So I told her, Maria, we really need to, you know, and she's trying so hard. Like it's almost her age, not being on medication and being afflicted with rheumatoid arthritis like this, she's managing quite beautifully. But point being is that it might be the best thing for her to finally get on biological, because her body's failing. So, and then it becomes a vicious cycle, especially for older people when muscle mass is decreased and so forth. Like, as you well know, longevity is affected big time. So that's the conversation that I have. And even when I do a progress one with a patient, I've said, whoa, Joan, what's happening here? You last visit, or last time we did it, you were in the 80s. Now you're in your 60s, you know, and you're in that zone. What's going on? Oh, I didn't tell you, but this, that, and the other thing, and so forth. So the tools, I legit have a book that I created for my patients. It's called Fired Up and Feeling Great. 10 key strategy to activate your body's healing power and be pain-free. And in there, I have a whole section on vagus nerve, all of the stuff that they can do. I have a whole section on breath work, because breath work, even I knew it, but I didn't know it.
Really know it.
Really know it, that 3 breaths can change your physiology like that. I mean, how freaking powerful is that, right? Yeah. So I've done extensive training with Patrick McEwen with the Oxygen Advantage, read the 3 books. I've done workshop / webinar for my patient on breath work with the co-author of my upcoming book with Dr. Sly, because he's a trainer with the Oxygen Advantage method and so forth. So it's pretty fabulous what it can do to. So I coach as much as I can. And I try to, I mean, I'm busy with my hands, you know, healing people. So I automated a lot of stuff in my practice. So when a patients start in the office, they get a copy of the book. I have an app with tons of different things, you know, but I have to be cognizant of where is the patient at. Yeah, and if they're just, Nathalie, I'm stressed out, my neck is killing me, help me. Like, it's no time for vagus nerve discussion for this person, right? No. So it's my goal to walk the person through whatever state they're in and then give them the proper information and the tools, because I have the tools, like with, Design for Health, we have meal plans and vitamins, and I came up with my own survey with the Corrosion Institute. I have many questionnaires and so forth. So we're well equipped to help people with lifestyle, but they have to be ready for it. So, but like I said, I think it's so commonly used. Oh yeah, sleep, exercise, just like, yeah, whatever. Like, no, not whatever.
Yeah.
Right. If somebody is not sleeping, this is not a whatever.
Oh, that's not
right?
a whatever.
So,
No,
yeah.
no. So yeah, I think getting into the depths of this is probably, we won't have time for that, but just in terms of regulating your nervous system, you talk about breath work, and 100%, I mean, it's amazing how powerful that is. I'm wondering, okay, so what are your favorite, like, how about the Apple Watch? Can we get a lot of information from the Apple Watch, for example?
Oh, good question. So I myself use an Oura Ring because I'm very cognizant of EMF, and I don't like the fact that the watch is you can see the green light, like it's pulsing on you. I'm sorry, not a big fan.
Yeah.
People are lying on my table and they're getting their texts. I'm like, dopamine, like this is like not good. Like we're constantly being bombarded. So I made a choice. Well, first of all, I can't work with watches. And second of all, I only download this baby when I get up in the morning to look at my data. Okay. So biohacking world would tell you that it's probably 70% accurate, but it's a good start. And it's a good start for people to pay attention to their trend, right? So, I ate late last night. I had some meat. I didn't sleep as well. Okay, let's keep that in mind. That's affected. I forgot my magnesium supplement, or last night I took some myo-inositol, and again, that's what I mean, that I'm constantly biohacking myself, is measuring that. Obviously I do blood lab too, but measuring what I'm changing and how it's impacting my REM sleep, my deep sleep, or my body fat, my strength. I like to keep, track of all this, but I'm definitely like not obsessed with it.
Right.
Me, it's like, okay. And then a patient comes in, it's like, okay, I'm not sleeping well. Okay, well, have you thought of this, that? I've tried this. There's good literature on this and so forth. I'm also a huge fan of the Andrew Huberman podcast. I don't know if you listen to that.
I used to, but now that it's getting to be almost 2 hours for every episode, I mean, this is craziness.
Yeah. But all that to say, if you listen to a few, especially the ones on the brain and so forth, you can see how powerful lifestyle changes can be. So so definitely having all of those conversations, the breath work, and then for me, the adjustments.
Yes.
Like the adjustments, right?
I want to talk to you about that too. Like, okay, so I like what you said about EMFs. Like, I think that's really something that we need to pay attention for. And, since when do we have to have access to all of our messages all the time, right? I mean, it's craziness.
That or the other way around. Since when should people have access to us all the time?
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, just you're just making me think here. But anyway, okay. So lost my train of thought.
Chiropractic adjustments.
Yeah, adjustments. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Healing with your hands. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be completely honest. There was a time for me that I thought, chiropractor, how does it really help? They adjust me, they align me, and then my muscles get tight and I'm out of alignment. So it's just sort of, to me, it was like, okay, back and forth. But
so you're looking at it mechanically.
Exactly. So explain the other way to me.
Well, I wish I could tell you that my profession has tons of science, but we're a small profession and nobody wants to invest in any scientific paper for us. So take that with a grain of salt. But there's a lot of research coming out of Dr. Heidi Havoc in New Zealand that has shown that chiropractic adjustment have a direct effect on the prefrontal cortex. Think about that, right? So we help with the adjustment, not just mechanically and all that. Yes, it is the neuromusculoskeletal system, but we're helping the message from the body being sent to the brain properly. I was just in Toronto at a chiropractic conference, and Dr. John Minardi was explaining it so beautifully, is that we're making sure that the message from your spine is going to the brain clearly and not scrambled. I always say to patient, if you're listening to radio, again, aging myself, 89.9, you're on 89.7. Are you going to hear the person? No.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, sadly, we're looking at it a lot of time mechanically. And you're right that, you don't want to just do the same thing over and over again. But then on the flip side, when people are always having the same pattern of subluxation, then you need to look at all of those stressors. Another thing too is, and you saw that in the presentation, when we know that the vagus nerve comes out right here, you don't tell me that I'm having an impact when I'm adjusting CO, C1, C2. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know, right?
Oh dear.
Again, I wish my profession had more. But if you just look at C1, C2, and where the vagus nerve comes out in the jugular foramen, but also the sheath, it is with the vein, the artery, and then the vagus nerve. And it's so close, like we have an impact, right? So I'll give you an example, and I always giggle with this, and I say it to people. Let's say I have two 40-year-old women. They almost have similar life. The two kids, the swimming, like just same job, like just very similar.
Textbook.
We adjust one. She goes home and cleans her house from top to bottom because she can't believe the freaking energy she has. The other one goes home and sleep for 12 hours. Why? I don't know why. Her body needed the healing. Her body needed whatever's going on with better. And the other one, vice versa. So the body is so complex. And you mentioned, you've been in practice as well for a long time, is if I know something, is that the body is so complex that I know nothing.
Exactly.
Right?
I know.
So to me, though, it's fun because
it makes me hungry. It makes me hungry.
I know. I just get goosebumps just saying it. But
I know.
So I'm hoping that I can vehicle this passion to my patient when they get off from my table and say, wow, I've had so many people say, Nathalie, come out of your office and I feel like I'm walking on a cloud.
Right.
Because they have less brain fog. Their body is working better. Now, I have to say, because of our toxic environment, I'm seeing less of those amazing, like, body turned on, because the body is, has such a higher toxic load. And I have this discussion with other practitioners, chiropractors that have been in practice as long as me, and will say it. Like, I'm seeing reversal of neck curvature in 17, 18, 19 years old. I never used to see that. I just did one the other day. The spinal curvature should be 40 degree, let's say 30 to 40. She was minus 20.
Ooh.
So how is, like, if you're supposed to go this way and you're going this way, how is it that it's not pulling on her spinal cord and scrambling those signals?
Oh, exactly.
So it's posture, it's the phone, it's, I think, sports, the girls are playing contact sports. We have more slender necks, all of that stuff. So I have the solid conversation with something that somebody say, you're not feeling much pain right now, but I can tell you from seeing it for 27 years that your health's going to decline. You're not going to be sleeping well. You'll have brain fog. You'll be fatigued. And then people blame it on the age. Oh, I'm 45, I'm 55, whatever. No. No, it's not supposed to be that way. Right. So,
And then just hormones, like, how does
Mhm.
a young girl, how does that,
Oh
hormones
yeah.
or communication. So,
Yes.
and how the vagus nerve, comes around the stomach as well. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about digestion
Like just
issues,
the
right?
fact that it's 80% from the stomach to the brain and 20% the other way around. So I,
Yes.
said that in my webinar for my patient. I said, when we say I
Hmm.
had a gut feeling that this would happen, here it is, right? And
Yeah.
then, I mean, the heart is another thing with heart math and so forth. I mean, the
Yes.
body is just so freaking miraculous, but it's having those conversations and that's
Hmm.
what I do day in and day out. Now I have to say some days it's challenging because people are so stuck in the other model and they're stressed out that I'm not perfect and I have to check my energy. There's time that I go hide and do a few breath work because that
Yep.
last patient just I just
Right.
like really.
Right.
I even said that to a patient that I've known for years, that people are more demanding than they've ever been. And I use the word bully. I said, I'm recently feeling bullied by patients, and not just me, but my staff and so forth. Like it just, and I kind of understand why people are stressed, frustrated. Our healthcare system in Canada is not doing well. So we are here. So of
Hmm.
course, we are available for them and we're here for them. So it's easier to you know, let go of your
Hmm.
frustration of the last 6 months of being in pain and the last 6 months or a year of having poor health and all of that stuff. And we listen, but I also have to protect myself and I have to protect my staff. So we have to set boundary. We're here to help, but
Yeah.
there's no reason of your attitude. And
No.
we're in a healing facility. And one thing that I have to share with you, when I was in Toronto, it was all about the polyvagal theory. And it made me think, listening to the teacher, and I'm like, okay, my patients are, oh, sorry, Natalie, I'm late. And it's like, okay, I'm
Mhm.
putting, dentists have signs on their ceiling. Well, I'm putting 3 signs in my 3 adjustment room. Healing takes time.
Mhm.
And then second, I'm going to do a laminated sheet that's going to guide people to do a 4-7-8 breath,
Mhm.
3 breath before they lay down on the table. And I know I'm not going to do that with everyone because some people's awareness is not there, but I know I have a lot of
Mhm.
people that will truly appreciate and say, wow, it does feel better. So don't be on your phone waiting for me. Like, what is this? Right. So
Right.
as a practitioner, I constantly have to do that. So and again, like
Mhm.
27 years in practice, you'd think I could just coast and do whatever. I'm doing a good job anyway, but no, I'm
Mhm.
constantly thinking, how can I help these people understand the power of breath work and the present time consciousness, and that an adjustment is a pretty freaking powerful thing. And we're going to do this together, but we need to be both in parasympathetic,
Well,
for this to work
exactly. And we
properly.
we both have to be on board. We both have to believe that this is going to make a difference, right? I mean, you can't convince another person. They have to believe. Yeah, our job is not to convince, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, our
But even
clients.
believe, funny enough, a lot of people come to a chiropractor skeptical as heck, and it works. So that
Mm.
part, and I'm like, I'm pretty casual about it. And I've had a patient that nice fellow and all, but he said flat out, said, I'm very skeptical. I'm like, fine. And
Yeah.
thank you for voicing that. It's going to be my job to prove you how amazing this experience is going to be. Now he's
Mhm.
sending me his girlfriend, right?
Oh,
Like it just,
exactly. I
but he was
know.
open-minded
Yeah.
and he was still in a healing mode. It's one thing to be skeptical, it's fine, and even fearful. I always say when I adjust people for the first time, obviously there's different techniques. I don't
Hmm.
adjust my 94-year-old female patient like a football player, obviously.
Right.
There's a time, and a place for different technique, but I think it's important for people to understand that the power of an adjustment is not to be taken lightly, right? Because of the power that it has.
Yeah. That's another good way of of explaining it to them. Yeah, I think you're right. They perhaps don't have to believe, but if we can get them curious, I think
Yeah.
that's
Open. That's all I'm
open.
asking.
Yeah.
Open. And I love a
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
I love a challenge because,
Yeah.
and I don't know. And people say, how many visits? I don't know. What do you mean you
Yeah.
don't know? I don't know.
No.
And I have to be careful because my college needs me to have a treatment plan and so forth, which I do. But I said, I don't know. I'm with my 27 years of experience and what's going on with you. This is what I think, and then we'll reevaluate. We'll do your heart rate variability, surface EMG, and so forth. We'll sit back down, and you'll tell me what you saw as change. And in my progress exam, it's increased sex drive, it's better sleep, it's better balance, better coordination. They know their back pain's gone, but I want them to think. And so many times people will say, "Holy crap! I didn't realize I'm not constipated anymore." Oh. So it's my job, and I said earlier, punch holes in people belief system. Well, I just did with this because not they had the wrong belief, they just didn't know. So I always say it's my job to connect the dot. And the nervous system has a nerve going to each organ, but it's way more complicated than that. But if at least I can, we call it the Merrick chart of the spine, but at least if I can get them thinking in that direction, that their pain in between the shoulder blade is giving them heartburn, that their low back pain is affecting their menstrual cycle and is making them constipated. So this is the conversation I have all the time, and that's why I say the only charts you'll find in my room, and they're huge, is that, right? Because I need that chart, my table in my hands, and we're good to go, right?
Yeah. And everyone's different too. Like I know myself, the more I know about it, the more I'm like all into it. Like I need knowledge to get excited about it. I don't think everyone's like that.
Knowledge and experiencing. Like I remember my first year in practice. I mean, you're pretty green, and this woman comes in and she had headaches for, let's say, 20 years. One adjustment, comes back, she's like, I don't know what the hell you did to me, but I haven't had a headache. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that stuff really works, right? Like, I mean, I was a chiropractor, I was graduated, but I didn't know this firsthand kind of. Exactly. Right? For her, it worked this fast. For other people, it doesn't. For other people, there's layers. And that's another analogy from, the functional medicine world. I say, think of an onion. We have to peel the layers. Migraine, I think it was 18 causes of migraine. So let's start to see if it's coming from your neck. But by golly, we're going to peel those layers and figure out hormones, inflammation. Like we're going to have to peel this out, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the basis of my work is as a psychotherapist as well, right? Is peeling the layers. I mean, there's and we don't have to be like, that's the thing. I think some people see this healing as like, oh my God, like the journey. It's like, no, let's get excited about it. I mean, that's how I am. It's sort of, another layer gone, another layer gone. I'm excited just to, I mean, that was in your bio to make the best version of yourself. Like, how can you not be excited about that? Like I say, bring it on, bring on the healers. I don't care if it's Reiki, massage. I mean, chiropractic.
Everything has a place. Everything has a place. And in my book, I call it your wellness team. Like, who's on your wellness team? Everyone should have a naturopath, a chiropractor, whatever other healing, Reiki, or, whatever your morning routine is with grounding and going out and light and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's a team.
It's a team. Yeah. And whatever, like you said, whatever turns you on the most, whatever's working for you. But I would say experiment. So, okay. Well, I think, I do need to get you back on, but the biohacking in a way for me, like, I think I like to describe it like this to my clients. Like we are not like Buddhist monks, and we're not sitting on top of a mountain, meditating all day. Therefore, we actually, it's to our advantage to tap into some of these biohacking, hacks, whether that's the Oura ring or your watch, or I don't know. I mean, it's just to me, it's the power of awareness. And like, yeah, knowledge is awareness, and like, yeah, our body is always giving us information. And I think by becoming, opening up to reading that information, that not seeing it as like pain or, why me, but rather, oh, how interesting, that's, thank God I have that symptom. Let's explore that now. And let's, what is my body trying to tell me? Because it's amazing. Like, it's just like you say, how can you not get excited about that? It's just like, oh my God, this is fantastic. This pain in my back,
I talk about symptoms as your alarm system, right?
Yeah.
But yet, on the flip side, only 10% of the nervous system will perceive pain. So, unfortunately,
Mm.
pain, will be a later kind of symptom when it manifests. Now, we have to listen to it when it does manifest, but there's a lot to unpack underneath. And that's why earlier I said pain or vein. And that's kind of what I meant, that if we
Mm-hmm.
don't have any pain, a lot of people, no pain, I'm fine. Why would I
Right.
go see a chiropractor? My back's not sore.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're not sore. Let's see how optimal your nervous system is. And then
Yeah.
having the proper tool to evaluate, and then measuring a person's progress and so forth. So, and I'm
Yeah.
all about leaving people option with their care. I have patients that only come when they're sore. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I always,
Yeah. Yeah. We're not
like
here to,
whatever, but at least
yeah.
they're coming in, they're not popping pills and, not addressing at least the mechanical cause, if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
patients in the practice that are here because they see the value of optimizing their nervous system. And once they experience it, they're like, wow, I can't believe how great I feel.
Yeah. And when I do have you back on, like whether it's a month from now, 6 months from now, or whatever, I would love to get deeper into the energy, like the energy systems of the body, because I think, yeah, different parts of the world have different, I mean, we're all speaking the same language, except, yeah, different words, I think, so whether it's the chakras or whether it's electricity, but
Yeah.
we just want a clear
And it's funny that
channel.
you say that, because I've noticed there's also a cultural thing with pain. Some cultures
Mm,
have different relationship with pain. So we could
mm,
dig into that as well, because I find it fascinating. I kind of
yeah.
noticed, a trend, especially in later years. And I've asked a few of my patients, and one of them said that in their culture, the more they talk about their pain, it's like they're putting it out there to be heard. So for, the
Mm.
God to heal them. I'm
Oh,
like, oh, just interesting. Because, to me, I don't want them to focus on pain and keep hammering. And then I go back to the dorsal vagal, which is the sympathetic part of the nervous system. The parasympathetic part of the nervous system, that is that protective. And those people are the one that are on my table, but then it hurts here, and they even bang themselves. And if I don't bang on it myself, they feel like I'm not addressing the issue. So I have to be cognizant of
mm.
that, to say, I understand your pain is here. So please,
Yeah.
I do know where it is, but let me do my thing. I may not need to bang the heck out of this, because people are used to massage, and the deeper it goes and the more
Right.
trigger points and the more release. That's great. I have massage therapists in the office. Like, that's not what I'm
Yeah.
saying, but it's that awareness of the relationship with pain. And again, everybody's different. I'm noticing cultural
Hmm.
differences as well. So I think it's a good conversation to have.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, yeah, you are a fountain of knowledge, and I so admire you, what you're doing in your community, and it's not a like the books that you've written and everything. Like, I don't know how you have time.
Oh, it's
Um,
passion, but I also admire what you do. And I mean, you and I will, this is not the end of our
no,
relationship,
no.
because I do not have a lot of people to refer to in my community that are like-minded when it comes to the mental aspect. So kudos to you as well to what you do and integrating the lifestyle and all the, the knowledge that we gain with the Institute of Functional Medicine. So kudos to you on that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Well, thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. And for my audience, you will be seeing or hearing from Nathalie again. Okay, Nathalie, have a great week.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye-bye. Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.